Okay, well, it's so nice to meet you. I was rereading your profile earlier, and I'm distracted by my toe because I really hit it hard running to my computer earlier, so sorry about that. Um, so I've had several people recently, on that talked about their experiences with I can't fucking pronounce the word. What's the word in front of mushrooms?
Psilocybin.
Thank you, God. Them and just other I think the word was euthogenic medicine. I don't fucking remember. But anyway, all the psychedelic shit that you can use to really like help you on your healing. And it's crazy to me because everyone has like a different experience, although it is all part of the oneness that I think we all
Mm,
kind of come to or whatever. But that's why I really like talking to people about this particular topic because I mean, full disclosure, I haven't done any of them because my brother is very schizophrenic, so I am very nervous to touch hallucinogenics.
mm,
Um, and I feel like I so I know that we had to reschedule because of my son passing, and I don't know if I told you or they told you how, but he actually died of an accidental overdose.
oh,
But,
okay.
yeah, so he used all kinds of stuff, but he really was a proponent for mushrooms and other hallucinogenics for the same reasons, but I don't think he had any real, guidance when using
Mm,
them, but, he said they helped him or whatever. And I wish he had had guidance because I believe that there is real truth and healing to be offered by these medicines. But he got really pissed at me because he was constantly like, "Mom, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to do it." And one of the last conversations we had, I pissed him off because I was like, "I don't know, Jake. I feel like I'm reaching enlightenment without them. Like I'm doing the work. And I wish I could describe the look on his face because he couldn't possibly believe that, it can be accomplished without that. But it's kind of a topic that's dear to my heart because he was very in love with them. And, don't let any of that, sway you from trying the therapeutic methods. He did a lot of other drugs too, so that was his problem. But,
yeah, well, can I ask what he, overdosed on?
so we don't know yet.
Mm,
They did a lot of pathology and a very extensive autopsy, and they said 90 days. So we haven't even hit. We're at like I think
mm,
5 weeks now. So, yeah, I don't know what I think he was using several different opiates.
mm,
'Cause I've heard a lot of different stuff from friends, obviously, but, yeah, I don't really know. There is a fear, obviously, that there was fentanyl in something, but I
yeah,
I personally don't think that it was that. I think he was mixing too much stuff and had been because he was only
mhm,
18 years old, like, your body can
wow,
only do so much, you know what I mean?
man,
So, yeah, that's I think he was mixing too much stuff, but, yeah, we won't know for a couple more months. I don't even
uh,
know how you get that information, honestly. I've heard some people just receive it in their email, but hopefully that's not the case, but, yeah, we don't know yet.
yeah,
And I didn't, like, look at any of the shit because 'cause we're the ones who found him, and so I was kinda like, "Alright, shit, get out," and then didn't look at anything, and they took everything, so
mm, man,
sorry to trauma dump on you, shit.
yeah, well, I can't believe that you're going through that, Melissa. That's, it's gotta be so difficult, so difficult. Um, you seem to have a good demeanor when talking about it, and so, I know that it's not easy whatsoever, but through anything that we go through, there's always positives to be found, and so, you know,
Right.
whatever
Well, and
those
I
are,
think too,
um
I had spent the last 2 years, shit, almost being prepared for this. I mean, because,
mm,
like, I've been doing that really hard internal work for 2 years. So all of those tools that I've picked up along the way are pretty much the only reason that I am able to get through this as well as I am, but it also fortified what I really feel is my purpose, and
mm,
so I'm just trying to live out this experience very loudly so that the people who maybe don't have people around them that they feel like they can get help from can hear these conversations and get help, you know?
Mhm. Can I ask what you feel your purpose is?
Well, I think that my, like, collective oneness purpose is the same as everyone, which is like, get to the center of love and joy and, like, live that to the fullest. But I also feel like I've always like, I thought it was go through shit, get past it, share how I did it, and then the last year, it's been I feel really led to, like, share in real time what I'm going through, how I'm getting through it, and what tools I'm using, the paradigm shifts that I experience, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
What do you feel like your purpose is?
I feel like my purpose is to change the world's perception on psychedelic mushrooms.
Nice.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wanna help people heal, I wanna help people grow, I wanna help people recognize their own potential to be great, and I think all that's possible, made more possible through the use of psychedelics.
Yeah, I mean, I hear really awesome stuff. So, what do you say about the need you could like, I really wanna know what you feel about this, the
Mhm.
need for the right guidance when using these medicines, and do
Yeah.
you feel like that's necessary?
It's huge. It's huge, it's huge, it's huge, because there's a lot of unknown that goes on when taking something like a psilocybin, like an LSD, like, a more powerful, hallucinogenic, like, 5-MeO-DMT or, something like that. There's an incredible amount of uncertainty that the user is gonna go through. And so having someone there who can kinda talk you through what you're experiencing and, bring you back down to baseline, but also help you interpret, what it is that you're experiencing is paramount.
Mm.
And so, I don't advocate that anybody, especially the first time or first couple times that you do it, you know, be alone during the experience because it can be uh, very distressing on a number of levels. And just having somebody there just to bounce that emotion off of it can be huge. So
Yeah.
I would definitely, use kid gloves.
Yeah, because, like, the thing is that when he would tell me some of his early experiences, I didn't know this was happening at first, it was all post finding out he was doing a bunch of shit, and then he just decided to tell me a lot, and I was like, "Yeah, I didn't need to know that." But he would he has had some kinda scary experiences, and so I hate that for him because I feel like there was a point at which it was helping him, but then I think there's probably a too much, and he definitely landed in that range. But I wonder I didn't think that I would ask you this, but I'm going to, and then
Mhm.
I don't know where it's gonna go, so whatever. But okay, so one of the things we were required to do family counseling for some legal shit he had gotten himself into, and he really opened up about some of his one of his problems is that, he would get fucked up by himself, and so he mixed shrooms and LSD together regularly because he,
Mhm.
once it started, he just couldn't stop. One of the experiences he really harped on that I think shaped some negative perceptions even of spirituality, he talked about, like, astral projecting in a really negative way and just seeing really dark stuff. Um And acted as if I just have no idea what's out there and whatever, and maybe I don't, I mean, that's fine, but I wonder what you would do if you were with someone who was experiencing those things and, they're trying to do this medicinally, but they're experiencing some of the when shit comes up, it's not gonna be pretty, and I don't know
Mhm.
from not having done it myself what that looks like. So, I kind of wonder if some of this negative stuff that he was experiencing was maybe some trauma coming up that he didn't know how to interpret. Am I way off base with that?
Well, so there could be a couple things, and it's important to rely on the user experience and their true interpretation of it. Because are you familiar with astral projection and what the facts are around that as it
Not
pertains to
really. Not I mean,
honesty of it?
very Today, I want to share a book series that truly meets you where you are. Letters to Myself by Jen Taylor, LCSW, is a powerful collection written by a New York based spiritual psychotherapist with over 23 years of experience. Each volume invites you to write your way through trauma, healing, and self compassion, from sexual assault and abuse to bullying and cult recovery. These aren't just books you read, they're books you work with. If you're ready to reflect, release, and reconnect with yourself, search Letters to Myself by Jen Taylor on Amazon today, and I will also have a link in the show notes. Little, very little.
Okay. So the CIA actually has programs dedicated to having people do that and to, spy on foreign countries and, go to the moon or different areas and utilizes people who are able to astral project to find out what's in X, Y, and Z location. Um, you know, this is all stuff I've heard of. I've heard people talking about it. I've heard, from what I consider very credible sources to the legitimacy of it. Have I experienced it myself? No. Um, that being said, I wouldn't discredit anybody's claim that they are able to do that or that they've experienced something of that regard.
Yeah.
And it's important to lean into the legitimacy of it and, understand that what we all experience is different than what another person experiences. So, I wouldn't discredit it.
Okay. So I probably just should have asked more questions. I didn't understand. You know what I mean? And also it
Yep.
scared me. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, because he was speaking in very vague terms when we talked about it, but he was very like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, you're right. I don't. But I wanted
Mhm.
him to lean into some of the softer aspects of spirituality. You know what I mean? Like there's a spectrum here, and we don't have to just think about this bad shit that you saw. But, I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. So
Mhm.
your profile said that when you did it, you you did unearth some trauma.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like for you? Like, how did it help you?
Yeah, well, it was extremely powerful because there was a number of things that, I had told myself weren't that big of a deal. Stuff that I just kind of pushed through. I pushed to the back of my mind. I said, you know what, fuck it, that happened, but I'm stronger than that. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to address it. And
Mhm.
under the influence of psilocybin, it was no longer a fuck it, I can just push that away type of thing. It was I need to address this and understand how this has affected me and affected my way of thinking. And in doing that and finally like allowing myself to sit with those thoughts, those emotions, whatever it was, right? And we're talking about stuff that I really regretted, stuff that I felt like a bad person for, stuff that,
Yeah.
I pushed off responsibility to other people and didn't take responsibility for myself. And finally sitting with those things and accepting my role in what made those situations what they were, it meant that they no longer affected me because I no longer had to hide from them. I no longer had to compartmentalize them. I no longer had to justify my actions because
Yeah.
I could just say, yes, I was a bad person. Yes, I acted negligently. And, you know, then what? Okay.
Right.
So I learned it.
Right.
I can
Yeah. Oh, I
sit.
love that. I love that because, well, it sounds to me like another way to classify what you're saying is you dropped the shame.
Hmm.
You didn't have to hold yourself to this cross anymore and say, "I deserve X, Y, and Z negative because I made a mistake," or lots of mistakes. Do you think that like, did that inform mm, I was gonna say how you moved forward, but that's obvious. How did Having been able to relieve yourself of this shame and kind of release that shroud of darkness that I mean, that was my big thing too, is being covered in shame and thinking that accountability meant shame yourself to death if you do make a mistake. And then how did you what in your life kind of shifted after that? How did it look after that?
Yeah. I mean, so the biggest thing was that I decided I no longer needed to lie to myself or to the people around me about who I really was. I no longer had to sugarcoat opinions. I no longer had to, pretend like certain things in life didn't happen. I could be open and honest with myself, my parents, my siblings, the people who I hurt, and just say, hey, look, this is who I am. I am not a perfect person. I had a facade up for the longest time that you know, I was a top achieving student. I was president of my fraternity. I was this guy who, achieved promotion after promotion at my first job and, didn't understand why life was throwing me a pile of shit, but it was throwing me a pile of shit because I wasn't a good person. I wasn't a person that acted honestly. I wasn't a person that, stood by values. I was a person that tried to find any advantage that I could to make things turn out in my favor. And when, the coin inevitably flipped and I got the short end of the stick, I blamed other people for that. And so it was no longer hey, it's not my fault that I ended up in this situation. It's life circumstances' fault. It's no, I created those life circumstances and it's
Yeah.
all my fault. And so, by that ownership, it meant that I was no longer saying, "Hey, this isn't me." No, this is me. I am here because of everything that I've done up until this point, and I will continue to grow because I know that I can take control of my life from this point. And so, it
Yeah.
turns from a victim mindset, external locus of control to internal locus of control and saying, I have everything in front of me that I want to do in life right now, and let's go do it.
Yeah. Can you identify now, looking back, the ways in which you were working to make your outer world match your inner world and it being such a negative thing for you?
Yeah, well, really, it's I just I wanted people to like me, um, and that's really where the alcohol and cocaine problems that I had stemmed from. Is that I had this I had this worldview that the best thing that I could do to be validated, to get that feeling of acceptance that I'd really been missing my whole life. I was an outsider from the time I was a kid. I grew up in a town with like really nobody else around me. And so, going to school, I was the kid from out of town. And then, I
Mhm.
was the kid who didn't understand anything that the other kids understood from like a sexual standpoint or growing up and stuff like that, because I was the
Yeah.
kid that just didn't have other kids around. So I grew up like very sheltered and yada yada yada. And so I had like all of this like really deep seated need to fit in and be liked. And so the alcohol and drugs was like my way of being around people that inherently liked me. Because if you're the guy buying the shots at the bar, or you're the guy with the bag of Coke, people are going to like you. People are going to flock to you. And so, it was like a very easy way to be the person that I thought I wanted to be. But then in my experience with the psilocybin, I recognized that all of that is just it's fake. It's not real. There's no real connection being built. And then I had to
Mhm.
take a step back from that and say, okay, what really matters to me? What are the qualities and the people that I want to surround myself with? What are the qualities of myself that really matter? And let the people that are going to come into my life and like me for me and what actually matters to me, not for what I can provide to them. And so that
Yeah.
was a huge step back of like not being the person that just gave with the expectation that other people would flock to me for it, but now being a person that does what I know is right for myself and right for the people around me. And if, people don't like that, then they can choose to not like that. But, I'm doing what I know is right for myself.
Yeah. But how did you start to make that shift? I mean, I understand how the paradigm shift works very quickly and you're not even the same person once it happens. But it's not always easy to integrate your learning. So, how was it a struggle for you or was it just like I'm a brand new man, here we go?
Yeah, well, so I mean, it was a very gradual process, and in my book, I really take the reader through the unraveling that I went through and the kind of rebirth of myself. And so it was like a month from the time that I started experimenting with psilocybin, and um, we're talking very small doses to start half-gram dose the first time, which produced a really powerful emotional outpouring, which kind of like unlocked everything, and then gradually worked up from that point forward until a 3-day weekend at a music festival where, I used psilocybin Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was like Friday was kind of like the final death of the old John. And then Saturday and Sunday, I'd gone with like 15 friends. So
Quick ad break. If you're feeling stuck, disconnected, or like your spirit and mind aren't speaking the same language, Jen Taylor, LCSW, might be exactly who you're looking for. Jen is a spiritual psychotherapist who blends Reiki healing, spiritual psychotherapy, astrology, coaching, tarot, and oracle card readings to help you gain clarity, release blocks, and reconnect with your inner wisdom. Whether you're navigating emotional healing, spiritual growth, or a life transition, Jen offers intuitive guidance grounded in real therapeutic support. Learn more or book a session with Jen Taylor where healing meets insight. You can check the show notes for how to get in touch with her.
Saturday and Sunday, I said to myself, you know what? I need to exist in this world, in this music festival world, without the security of my friends around me. I'm just gonna go off on my own and see what the day holds. And it turned into something where I just had epiphanous realization after epiphanous realization, and recognized that I no longer needed that, the codependence of having my friends around me, that security blanket, and that I could just exist to make decisions for myself that I know are right for myself without the impetus of, will this matter to someone else? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is what matters to myself. What matters is the vision that I have for how I want to live my life, and moving forward in that direction with with complete vigor.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, I love, it's when you do have those realizations, it's I was actually scared because I went through a spiritual awakening and I was having them several times a day, and you really are a totally different person after each one. So to have several a
Mm.
day, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in spiritual psychosis." And I've told this story a lot. I actually asked Jake at the time, like, he was for some reason the only one I really trusted to ask, and he was like 17, 16 or 17, and I was like, "Do you think, like, I'm in psychosis?" And he was like, "No, I think this is a new belief system for you, and you've had a lot of changes in a really short amount of time, and it's a little scary, but just hold on and you're gonna be okay." And I was like, "Thank you. Thank you," because I really was like, "Something's not right," like, 'cause you're not supposed to feel this way several times a day, every day in a really short amount of time. So that one, that he really gave me a lot of peace because I was like, "It is a new belief system. You're right. Okay, great, great, great." Um, so what
Was there something that triggered that for you, Melissa?
it all I was in a mental health crisis before it started, and I was truly, like, just begging. I had started getting really into astrology and
Mm,
finally felt able to believe in something again because I had a super religious background, deconstructed, found myself at the bottom of a deconstruction pile, just having no real belief or North Star, I guess. Like, what the fuck? Because I thought this and now I don't know what to believe. So I got really into astrology and I was like, well, shit, this feels like a blueprint. Like, I get this. And so I was really into that, and I was doing a lot of, like, identity work just through that, like, through astrologers who were explaining
mhm,
different transits and whatever, but I was kinda crying out to whatever higher power existed to see things differently
mm,
because I was dying. I was not well. I
yeah,
just didn't know how I was gonna keep living, and I guess that's how it happened because I would encounter these situations that would just be so painful, and I think, it started with the identity work, but pretty quickly, once I really unraveled my shame and kind of, understood what my wounds were, I hit oneness pretty quick and was
mhm.
like, "Oh, shit, like, we are all connected here, okay." Then I kind of, really hit the self-love portion of the journey, but I was also like, "Wow, we're not any different, and now I can see why you do what you do because I know why I do what I do," and victim consciousness was just, like, such an epiphany because I was like, "God damn it, I did all this shit to myself." So it was a thirst for the information for sure,
Mhm,
uh, and I was broken wide open ready to hear and receive whatever would fix all of that shit, and so I think I was just along for a ride, but it was a very the the biggest portion of this growth happened in like a 3 to 6 month time period, and then there's just been continued evolution since then. It's a lovely thing to get to re-experience something that you've already experienced, but get, like, a deeper understanding. So, obviously, those things happen all the time. I mean, I've learned so much about myself just in the month since we lost Jake
Right.
because I'm relying heavily on spirituality, the tools, all of the things. It helps me a great deal to feel like he's still here just in another dimension. Like it doesn't make it hurt less, but keeping those enduring connections is very meaningful.
Yeah.
So,
And one thing that you'll find if you ever do choose to do psychedelics is that Jake is very much still with you. He very much is still, right by your side. I haven't experienced connecting with someone who's departed, but my wife has a number of times.
really?
Hmm. And I have definitely connected to other people in my life. I've had telepathic communications with my family members thousands of miles away, and things that are just
Yeah.
undeniably real once you experience it. And so, if that's something that you are open to, the ability to connect with him would be out there for you.
Wow. Well, that's definitely something I would consider. I mean, cause like I have a friend who's a medium and he reached out and just has reached out a couple of times to just say like he's with you all day, every day.
Hmm.
And I believe that. And it's funny because I just posted this thing on Instagram a couple of days ago, but like one of the things that I'm having to learn is like perspective. And so, uh I got a text from CVS addressed to Jake, and it says, "Hi, Jake, da 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 about flu shots." And my very first reaction was pissed, because that's what I like to do is get mad about things first. And then I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that could be Jake saying hi," because there was several things in a couple of days' time. And so I was like, "You know what? You get to choose what you want this to mean. It can
Hmm.
be CVS did this, or you can choose that it means Jake saying hi to you." And so I kinda started to see how I use perspective negatively and how I can, shift that a little bit. And that was such an eye-opening experience, and I was like, "Damn, like, thank you," because that was such a good lesson, because
Yeah,
I do get
cool.
to choose. We get to assign the meaning to every fucking thing we encounter, so
Mm,
why not, you know? And it's
absolutely.
nice to get to say that to somebody who, like, understands what I'm saying, because I do know some people in my life think I'm batshit crazy, and I really don't care, but I'm not obviously gonna, like, yammer to them about stuff whenever I know they're like, "She might need to be institutionalized, I'm not sure."
Yeah. Well, Melissa, you hit the nail on the head there. And the title of my book is "Your Mindset Is Your Reality," right? Which kind of that's the exact instance that I was referencing when I initially sent a text with that exact wording to my mother, right? Because, I recognized that in the span of a month, nothing in my life had changed, but I completely changed how I thought about my life. And
Yes.
that made an insane world of difference. And so, the
Yes.
positives that you can get from that are endless. Just like I said before, it might not blast off the pages as a positive that your son passed, but you're going to be able to find the positives in it, and you're going to be able to do his legacy very proud by finding the positives in it and continually working towards bringing those to light for yourself and for the other people in your life.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really hope. I have to believe that this is the medicine for somebody who still has a chance, that they can hear these conversations, see somebody like, maybe it's the conversation about drugs, maybe it's the fact that I talk about how he didn't share his shit with anyone. He held everything in,
Mm.
even his closest friends. He didn't really talk to them. He was the guy who wanted to make sure everyone else was okay. So, like, even just hearing that, maybe that helps someone to share their shit so that they are not locked inside this vault of suffering anymore.
Mhm.
But, I mean, it's nice because I do already receive some of that feedback, like, "You're helping me," whatever. I mean, truly, that's the only thing that got me through those first couple of weeks, but I also feel like this is I'm on a path, and as long as I stay in alignment with sharing these things with others, that I'm doing my work, you know?
Most definitely.
So
Um,
how do you, like,
Melissa,
deal
is it okay
with
if I take a quick
Yeah,
break? I need to use the restroom.
absolutely. Go
Thank
right ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do you say to people who because I think people think that people like us who have this great outlook and we understand how our mindset informs, our reality and blah blah blah, that we don't encounter the bullshit anymore, you know? How are you personally transmuting those things that still happen in our daily lives, but alchemizing the things that happen and moving forward in
Mm.
your beliefs.
Well, I think the most important thing is taking time to sit with whatever it is, not allowing reactions to overwhelm us, not allowing emotions to dominate thoughts, and, just really taking a second to breathe more than anything. Being able to control my breath was such a major paradigm shift that I went through along with the psilocybin experience that I had 3.5 years ago. And, the two kind of went hand in hand, right? Because I'll tell anybody that it wasn't psilocybin that changed my life, right? Psilocybin gave me the ability to implement a number of things that I'd wanted to implement for a long time, but I told myself that I couldn't for whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
I told myself that doing breath work was loony shit, right? And so I
Yeah.
didn't even bother trying. But then I try psilocybin for the first time and I see Dr. Andrew Huberman talking about different breathing cadences. And I say, wait a second, okay, that's something I can implement. And I start to implement that, make that a regular routine when I feel myself getting, worked up or when I feel anxiety taking hold. And I just go back to my breath, even just for a few seconds. And it helps to ground me. It helps my thoughts to clear out. And then I can choose how I want to proceed with a more clear, more defined intention rather than allowing my emotions to overrun my psyche.
Yeah. Breathwork was a huge one for me because I have a tendency to hold my breath, and I think that's just from so much trauma in childhood where I was
Mm,
constantly, like, startled and, bracing, contracting. I still catch myself all the time. Like, my daughter will think I'm mad because I take, like, this really huge breath, and I'm like, "No, I just caught myself fucking holding my breath, and I had to, like, get some oxygen." So, that is something that has been so helpful for me because it does regulate so much, and it's such a quick way to connect with your body, to get
mm,
out of your brain and be in your body and regulate the breaths, pay attention to them, even if you're not noticing anything else. You can notice your breaths, and damn, it makes a difference.
mhm, mhm. We have such an insane stream of thoughts just constantly going through our minds, especially nowadays with, basically every dull second being taken up by a phone or a computer or a tablet or
Mhm.
whatever it is that we're using for, productivity and optimization. That allowing ourselves just, a minute break to breathe, it interrupts that stream of thought for just a small period of time and allows us to, get back to the present.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Is that, something that you used to do is kinda drive yourself crazy with the things that you would sit around thinking?
Yeah, rumination. I'd been diagnosed with anxiety. I didn't really know what it was. I
Mhm.
had self-diagnosed depression. Once I recognized the way that my thoughts were operating, and this is all, thanks to psilocybin, thanks to the ability to stop and pause and be with myself that it provided. But once I recognized, the thought patterns of the rumination and the, constantly projecting worst possible case scenario and things of that
Mhm.
nature, I could stop it because I could finally recognize my thoughts. I could observe my thoughts rather than just being in my thoughts, just feeling,
Absorbed by them.
yeah,
Mhm.
feeling all this, I'm a terrible person, whatever it was that would
Yes.
just, like, sit and bounce around in my mind over and over and over again. I could finally
Yeah.
stop it and, end the madness.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that because that was the thing that was driving me absolutely insane was this constant loop of, better than that, so you should be doing better than that, and you're just a piece of shit, and it got to where I was like, "Oh, your kids are absolutely better off without you. Like,
Mm,
you're doing so much more damage to them, blah, blah, blah." And it was so loud. I mean, because that was the thing is that what you focus on grows. So I was very immersed into those thoughts. It was round the clock by the time I really hit the pinnacle of that mental health crisis. And so the flip side of that is being able to ask yourself why, like, what noticing what's happening, because it's not like I never have shitty thoughts anymore, but
mhm.
I don't get immersed or absorbed by them because I understand that my brain's a fucking liar. So, like, what's going on? What is it trying to get me to pay attention to? And especially in grief, like I told you, I love to be angry. It's like just my natural go-to to not have to feel something so I can go start a fight about something. So I notice some mornings I wake up pissed and I'll decide like I'm mad at someone. Like I'll just pick whatever dumb shit I can possibly think of, and it'll be probably like 5 minutes just because I'm not really like fully awake and whatever. And then as I start moving, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not how I want to start my day. So what is
Mhm.
going on? And typically I have a fundamental belief that, like, if you are in a thought spiral, there is an emotion you haven't addressed. So, I can't always identify what that emotion is, but now I just go, "Oh, there must be some grief that's needing to be expressed." So I just go to my body and I'm like, "Hey, what do we need to notice? What are we?" And I kinda it will bring it up just naturally. Sometimes the need to cry will come out, whatever it is, I just let it flow and then move forward. But that is the only way I have found to counteract those thoughts is to be like, "Okay, now where the fuck did that come from?" Some of it doesn't need any questioning because you that's I think where you can get into the shame thing, when you have those really intrusive thoughts that are just so bizarre,
Mm.
and I'm like, "Oh, my brain misfired for a second." Again, when we assign the meaning from a place of love for ourselves, then we just understand that we have these capabilities of repeating patterns over and over and over, and we get a choice when we wanna disrupt it, and so I just try to exercise that choice as much as possible.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done a lot of work to understanding the way that your brain works and the way that thoughts are produced and things of that nature. And that's like really, the most fundamental thing is like understanding the processing system that we've been gifted here, right? If you can understand the way that a computer works or the way that, a train works or, whatever simple invention, an electric toothbrush, right? Uh,
Yeah.
you can kind of work back from there and find out what the problems are with how it's functioning, right? But if all you know is, okay, push the button and the electric toothbrush goes, then it's going to be pretty frustrating when that thing doesn't work right. And so if you
Right, and your
take
brain
a
has the
step back.
capability of not working right sometimes.
Mhm. Mhm. And,
Or its greatest function is to keep you alive. So,
mhm.
like, sometimes it is working right, but the way it works is to feed you the catastrophe so that you will feel safe and not do things that are gonna get you killed. So you have to know that too, that it's gonna tell you, "You can't do that, you will die," or somebody else will die. I mean, that was my real big one was constantly just feeling so unsafe, like, I I guess there was a certain point at which I didn't really care if I died, but I did think I could cause catastrophe in the lives of others in weird ways, you know?
Mhm.
It was
And,
just my brain being like, "Don't do it, don't do it."
like the biggest fear that, a lot of us have is social ostracization. Um,
Mhm,
and so, our brains are constantly, giving us anxious thoughts of, don't do this, don't do that, because this is what, somebody's going to think about this and you don't want to be ostracized from the group. Uh, but with a world as large and abundant as we know it to be nowadays, that becomes less and less of a factor. And so you just have to
mhm.
say to yourself, well, you know, fuck it, I might get ostracized from this person or this small group, but there's somebody out there that's gonna love me, and so you just gotta be yourself.
Yeah, and I think so much of that relies on the understanding that, like, I'm enough to get through a period of isolation to find the right people for me who are in alignment, who are gonna love me and value me, not show up perfectly, which was a big problem for me. It was, like, expecting the same level of perfection from others that I expected from myself, and if you weren't providing that, because God knows I couldn't all the time, but you at least need to, like, you know, beat yourself to death over guilt and shame if you didn't show up perfectly, and so I think that's been a big one for me is like, "Hey, if you want the right people, you have to suffer through the losing of the wrong people, and it does feel like suffering sometimes for you to lose an entire I mean, I lost a lot of people whenever I first started changing, but I still think about them, but, like, I don't want bad for things for them. I hope they're going to reach this place one day. I really do, because I am full of peace, and they are not.
Mm,
So, I really hope for them that they will find that for themselves one day, but when I get scared of the polarization I just had a conversation with my friend about this the other day, but we do get so scared to say something that we believe will be polarizing, but that is the only way to attract the right people for you, like,
yep.
because you have to speak your truth. But when I think it really, like, it does it is born from that place of love for yourself to go, "Well, why am I not worth saying, what I feel?" Like, so? If they don't appreciate me, what does that actually say about me or do to me? Not really jack shit. So let's continue forward.
Yeah.
And I was having a lot of those thoughts even like before Jake died, just kind of like I'm enough to encounter anything. And I spent a lot of time in fear about Jake a lot for the last year of his life. I mean, I worried about him all the time, but the last year of his life was a little tumultuous, and then especially that last couple weeks. I did not know what he was doing, but something in my spirit knew. So, I was very aware that something wasn't right. I just didn't know what.
Mm,
And the week before, I was sitting there and I was, like, trying to just calm myself because I just was scared all the time. And I was like, "Okay, I'm enough. Nothing in this life is gonna kill me. Like, I can get through anything." And I remember asking myself, like, "Even if you lose Jakey?" And I decided, yes, like, I am enough for what in a world where judgment quietly shapes how we see ourselves, therapist and author Jen Taylor, LCSW, invites us into something gentler. With over 25 years as a New York based spiritual psychotherapist, Jen blends psychology, spirituality, and astrology to help women, teens, and LGBTQIA plus individuals find their way back to self worth. In Volume 7 of the Letters to Myself, Jen explores how self judgment becomes our harshest critic and how compassion can become our greatest healer. And for families navigating loss, her children's book, Melvin and His Magical Star, offers a tender story about grief, love, and the truth that love never disappears. Find hope, healing, and gentle guidance with Jen Taylor. I will have links for her in the show notes. Whatever. I don't fucking want to test that. I would like for some of this shit to stop, but it is what it is. Like this is apparently what I signed up for, and so I'm going to get what I'm supposed to get out of this lifetime, and I'm determined to do that. But I believe that I can. And I think that's really all it takes is the solid belief that you are worthy of love and belonging no matter what. Nothing external of you changes your worth or value as a human. And that we all have like a mighty purpose here, which really is just to evolve, to get to that place where you can love yourself no matter what. I mean, yeah, we have these little side quests and whatever, like you are teaching people about psilocybin.
nailed.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelisahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
INDEPE and cut.